Hi everybody, welcome to this video, and in this video we will be attempting the 2023 Unit 2 IAL IT paper. Okay, so I'm reminding you again, we are going to be attempting the 2023 IAL Unit 2 paper. Okay, so this is the paper that is to deal with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, before you do get started, if you plan on practicing this paper, you need to have the following data files with you. Okay, these data files will be required for you in order to practice the paper. There are certain questions that would require you to write the answer, and there are certain questions where you are required to carry it out on your computer system. Okay, right, so let's get moving. Okay, let's get started. Let's continue. Let's start this paper. Okay, so this is a 3-hour paper, and if you move down to question number 1, so question 1, 2, 3, what do you call, the first few questions require you to write an answer. So let's get moving. So let me also zoom in over here. It says over here, HTML is used to structure web pages. Give one reason why the doc type tag is used in an HTML document. Okay, so if you were to talk about this doc type tag, it is a tag that's placed right at the beginning of an HTML document. Okay, it's placed right at the beginning of an HTML document. Reason being to tell your web browser the version of HTML that you are using. HTML has so many versions. The doc type version, the doc type tag would tell your web browser that you are using HTML version number 5. Okay, so let's get this answer down. You can say this tag is used to tell the web browser that HTML5 is being used. Okay, or you could say that this web page contains HTML5 elements, so HTML5 tags. This is the purpose of your doc type tag. Okay, right, moving on. It says over here, the access key attribute specifies a shortcut key to activate an element. Figure 1 shows some HTML code including an access key attribute. So when you see over here, we have an anchor tag. Okay, we have some text which says book meeting room. And when this text is clicked, it's going to take the user to a URL known as booking.html. And inside it, you can see there is a shortcut key that has been assigned for the user to get to this particular text. Okay, access key is basically a shortcut key where if the user were to press it while on this particular web page, they would be then immediately taken to this element. Now, normally your access key should be an individual character. It can't be a mix of multiple characters. So here you can see B1 is a mix of multiple characters. Okay, so that's the reason why it's invalid. So they have asked you, why is it invalid? Your answer would be that the access key should contain a single character. It cannot contain multiple characters. So let's note that down over here. You can say this is because the access key should only contain one character. Okay, the access key shown in figure 1 contains a mix of 2 characters. Okay, your access key only works with single characters. So we have a problem over here. We mentioned that problem over here. Moving on to the next one, they talk about describe a block level element. A block level element. So there are 2 types of elements. You have inline and you have block. So a block level element is an element that takes up an entire, an entire line of your web page. Okay, so if you were to take the paragraph tag, whenever you open up a paragraph tag, it starts on a new line and that entire line is taken for that paragraph. If you were to take a heading tag, it starts on a new line, takes up that entire line. Okay, that's what we call block level elements. Then there are certain elements that get applied wherever you put the tag. So for example, if you take anchor tag, the anchor tag will appear wherever you put the anchor tag. At that particular point, it will appear. And immediately after the anchor tag, if you open up a paragraph tag, the paragraph will continue from that point onwards. You get it? Okay, and say for example, the bold effect. The bold effect gets applied wherever you apply it to. It doesn't start on a new line as such. Okay, so a block level element is an element that would always start on a new line, and it takes up the entire width of your web page. Wherever it is placed, it takes up the entire width. Okay, so let's mention it over here. You can say a block level element, such as, you can give the examiner some examples, such as the paragraph tag, okay, H1 tag, okay, such as the output end, such as the paragraph and H1 tag, okay. Start on a new line, and take up the entire width, of the line that they appear on. Okay, these are what we call block level elements. Okay, now they have not asked you, but I'm just telling you the opposite of a block level element is something which we call inline. And inline is an element that's going to appear wherever it is. And I gave you example: bold tag, italic tag, underline tag, image tag, anchor tag. These are tags wherever you insert it at that particular point, it's going to appear. Okay, so I hope it makes sense to you. Okay, I hope it's going great for you so far. Okay, we are going to keep moving forward. Okay, right. So then what do we have next? Over here, we have a question over here. We are in question 1C, and over here it says figure 2 shows how a web page must be displayed in a browser. The HTML code should display the heading to-do list. So this heading should appear. It should display the paragraph. These are the tasks that need to be completed. So this needs to appear as a paragraph. And then we have a nested list. So you can see you have an unordered list. Inside that you have another unordered list. Inside that unordered list, you have an ordered list. Okay. Then you can see unordered list, unordered list. Okay. So a list inside a list is what we call nested. You have a list inside a list. Okay. So this is what we call nested list. Let's see how it works. The page does not display as intended because there are 2 errors in the HTML code. So open Q01C, and what are we supposed to do? Amend the code to correct the 2 errors, and then save your amended code as Q01C finished. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm first going to open up Q01C, and I'm going to save it as Q01C finished, and then I'm going to start making changes. Okay, so let's get started. Let's get moving. I'm going to go into my folder. We have Q01C over here. The text editor I will be using is called Sublime Text. You can use Visual Studio. You can even use Notepad. Notepad would really slow you down. Okay, it's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to open up Sublime Text. This is Sublime Text for me, and I'll be doing a drag and drop over here. Cancel. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save it as Q01C finished. First, make a copy of the original. So file, save as, and I'm going to come down over here and say Q01C finished. I don't need to say .html because Sublime Text will insert that for me. So I can click on save. So Q01C has been saved, and I'm going to immediately open this particular file in my web browser. So let me go into my web browser. So Q01C is over here. I'm going to open up this very file in my web browser. And this is the, just got stuck. This is the output that I see here. Okay. So I need to start making certain changes. Let's go through our code. So over here we have HTML5 tag. We have our head, style, body. Body has some styling over here. Then we have our head tag. So you can see over here, H1 has been opened, but H1 hasn't been closed, which is why everything else is having the H1 styling. If you look over here, everything is having the H1 styling because H1 was opened here and it was never closed. So I'm going to come and close it over here. Close H1. Oh, sorry, that's that. Right. Let me save this and see how the output is. So when I come and refresh it, this is the output I see. It looks good. Okay. So correction number 1 was done. Error number 1 was corrected. Let's move on to the next error. So you can see unordered, the paragraph is open, the paragraph is closed. Unordered list opened, unordered list closed. List item open, list item closed. Unordered list opened. Here we have a problem. Unordered list opened. This unordered list has been closed over here. Okay, right? This unordered list opened, closed. Okay, Ordered list open, ordered list has been closed. List item opened, list item closed, list item opened, list item closed. Now here we have a problem. Arrangements for refreshments at 10 a.m. If you look at your figure, can you see? Arrangements for refreshments at 10 a.m. is a part of this unordered list, isn't it? It's a part of this unordered list. So let's have a look. In our output, it is appearing as a part of this unordered list. Guys, I hope you can follow my cursor. This arrangements, let me zoom in. Arrangements for refreshments at 10 a.m. is appearing as a part of this unordered list. Okay, so far so good. Coffee for 8 needs to be inside. Coffee for 8 needs to be a new unordered list. So we have a problem over here. It's continuing. It should rather be a new unordered list. So let's see what went wrong here. So over here you can see coffee for 8. The new unordered list has been closed but has never been opened. So let us go and open it. So I'm going to keep the cursor here, enter. I have my cursor blinking. Let's indent it properly. Tab. I'm pressing tab and indenting it and say open the unordered list. Sorry, simple UL. For your information, HTML is not case sensitive. Whether you use capital or simple, it doesn't make a difference, not like JavaScript. Okay. So, but I prefer to type it all in lowercase, my personal preference. Okay. Now let's see how the output is. So now when I come and refresh my code, you can see now it's perfect. Okay, I have a separate unordered list starting over here. There were 2 errors and I corrected both those errors. Okay, let me just quickly go through the question paper and see if there is anything else that I need to do. There isn't anything else that I need to do. So I'm going to save my work and I'm going to close this file. So let's save this, Control S. And yeah, that's it. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, so over here it says explain one difference between functional testing and usability testing when creating a web page. So when we talk about functional testing, you're checking if your web page works as expected. You might have put certain functions into your web page. Okay, so when you do functional testing, you're checking whether those functions are working. So say for example, you have a form or you have a button or you have some JavaScript code on your web page. You want to see if that code is working as expected. That is your functional testing, seeing or checking if your web page works as you expect it to work. Okay, does it carry out the functions that you have programmed it to carry out? That's functional testing. Usability testing is checking the user friendliness of your web page. Okay, can users actually use it? Is it user friendly for them? Okay, can they understand what needs to be done? Have clear instructions have clear instructions been given to them? Okay, so let's note that down over here. So you can say functionality testing is where the web page is tested to check if it properly functions as expected. Okay, this is where various functions that the web page has been programmed to carry out. This is where various functions that the web page has been programmed to carry out is tested. Okay. So then let's go on to talk about usability testing. While in usability testing, okay, the user friendliness of the web page is checked. Okay, the user friendliness of the web page is checked. Okay, so in functionality testing, we check whether the functions that we have programmed the web page to do, are they actually working. In usability testing, we are testing whether the user can actually use this web page. Is it clear for them? Is it user friendly for them? Okay. So let me just quickly go through my answer once more. In usability testing, the user friendliness of the web page is checked. I'll just add one more thing. It is checked to see if a user can access and use the web page easily. Okay, so I hope the difference between functionality and usability makes sense to you. Okay, right. So with that, we come to the end of question 1. We are now moving on to question number 2. So let's scroll down over here. I'm going to move down over here. So over here, it talks about CSS. Cascading style sheets is used by browsers to style HTML elements. Rules are created using CSS attribute selectors such as the to the power of and the angle, not angle, the dollar symbol. Okay, so there are 2 rules given over here. Yes. So if we were to go through this, okay, over here they have given us 2 rules. Rule 1 applies to something, rule 2 applies to something. So what does rule 1 apply to? Rule 1 applies to all the image tags that have the alternate text attribute beginning with the letters BEES. Okay, I'm repeating myself again, or rather let me type it. You can say rule 1 applies to all the IMG tags that have an ALT attribute, containing, not containing, that have an ALT attribute with a value beginning with the text BEES. And rule 2 is the opposite of that. You can say rule 2 applies to all the image tags that have an ALT attribute with a value ending with the text BEES. Okay, so rule 1 is for the attribute, for the image tags with ALT attribute beginning with BEES, and rule 2 is for the image tags that have an ALT attribute ending with BEES. So I hope these 2 make sense to you all. Okay, I'm going to move down to question 2b then. Okay, let's move down to question 2b. So over here it tells us figure 3, this is figure 3, includes the code for a navigation button. Okay, so over here it says lines 7 and 8 in figure 3 show CSS styling for the images on line 14. Line 7 and 8 show CSS styling for the image on line 14. Okay, describe the effect that the CSS code on line 7 and 8 has on the image. So if you look at line 7, it says image on hover. On hover means when the cursor goes over this image. So when the cursor goes over this image, the opacity is 0.5. The opacity controls the transparency of your image. Okay, so when you say 0.5, you can say the transparency of the image is going to change, or you could even say the opacity of the image when the cursor goes on top of it, or when the cursor hovers it, will change to 0.5. Okay, so you have an image here called room B1. This image, when the cursor hovers over it, its opacity will change to 0.5. So shall we note that down over here? You can say when the mouse goes over the image, okay, we can say hovers. When the mouse goes over the image, hovers, the image's opacity would change to 0.5. Okay, this is exactly what lines 7 to 8 has told us. Okay, I hope it makes sense to you all. Okay, so let's keep moving then. Let's keep moving down. So over here we have we are in question 2c now. So it talks about a web page contains a square. So we are talking about question 02c. So let me first save it as Q02c finished. Okay, and then we'll start reading what needs to be done. So I'm going to open up Q02c. It's over here. Let me take Sublime Text and do a drag and drop. So here we have Q02c. Let's drag and drop Q02c over here, and let's immediately save it as Q02c finished. You don't need to put .html. Sublime Text is doing that for you, and you can click on save. Okay, so now I'm going to open up Q02c in my web browser. So let's double click and open this in my web browser. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Okay, This is all I see on my web page for now. Now let me go through the question paper and see what are the changes that I need to make to this particular file. So over here, it says over here, the web page contains a square. The square must be centered horizontally here. Okay, horizontally it should be centered. The colored gradients in the square must be purple, blue, and orange. These three colors, it should be a mix of these three colors. When the user hovers over the colored square, it must take 3 seconds to transition into a rectangle. Okay, so open, this is what we did, and we need to amend the CSS code to do what the examiner just told us. Okay, so let's go and have a look at our CSS coding over here. So let's get moving over here. Let's first look at our code now. So over here, if you have a look at your code, which is over here, this is the web browser code now. Right, this is my code. So let's have a look at the HTML part first. Okay, so here we have our HTML code. We have our body tag. Inside that we have a paragraph, and you can see the paragraph over here. It's over here. You can see that paragraph. This is the paragraph, and below that a div tag has been opened, and this div tag has an ID called shape. Then if you scroll up to the CSS, you can see the paragraph has a property called text align, and the property value is center. And then here they're using an ID selector. They're referring to the div area using hashtag shape. They're referring to the div's ID. So there's a hashtag shape. So the shape is having a width of 50 pixel, a height of 50 pixel. Now you need to add your code to center the shape across the page. And across the page, they very clearly told us over here, it needs to be centered horizontally, this way. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, if I want to move something to the middle of a page, I need to change its position to relative. I need to say position, and I need to make it relative, because when something is relative, then I can move it from wherever the cursor is blinking right now. Okay. So now what do I say from here? From the left, because right now my cursor is blinking. Now after this paragraph, my cursor will be blinking over here. At the end of this paragraph, my cursor will now come back over here. Now I opened up a div tag, and its position is relative now. So I can now move it from this point. I can move it. So I'm going to say from this point, I want a 50% gap. Okay, so that it comes to the center. So I'm going to say from the left, keep a gap of 50%. It's always good to keep percent, because then no matter what screen you view it on, it will always move to the middle. Then add your code to set the colors of the shape. So the colors that the examiner told us was purple, blue, orange. So let's insert those colors. I want the background image, okay, to be a mix of 3 colors. What are they? Purple, blue, and orange. These are the 3 colors I want it to be a mix of. Then the third thing is, add your code to set the transition time to 3 seconds. So the property that we use is transition. Okay, transition. How long? 3 seconds. End of property value. So let's save this. Let's go and refresh our web page. When you refresh it, you can see the square has appeared. It's in the center. It has purple, blue, and orange in it. And now when I hover over it, if you look at the code, this code the examiner gave me, the examiner said when the area shape, when this shape is hovered, its width should become 300 pixels. Over here, we mentioned that how long should it take? If it is changing, if it is transitioning, it should take a total of 3 seconds to happen. So now let's see, when I hover over it, there you go. It takes 3 seconds for its width to become 300 pixels. Okay, so it's working perfectly. I hope the code makes sense to you, what just happened over here. So with that, we come to the end of question 2C. I'm going to save my work. I've already saved it. And then I'm going to move on to the next question, okay, which is over here, question 2D, okay. So let me first open up the file and save it as question 2D finished, and then I'll go through the changes that need to be made, okay. So let's open up Q02D in Sublime Text. I'm going to make this a bit smaller, drag and drop question 2D, so it's inside a folder. And 02D, drag and drop, and I'm going to save it as file, save as Q02D finished.html will be inserted automatically for me, and I click on save. right? So now let's go into our question paper and read the code and see what needs to be done over here. So it says over here, the completed meal coupon must have the image of the scissors rotated 90 degrees, a dashed border, a font size of 50 pixel for the text meal coupon, and an italicized coupon number. So what we'll do is we'll first see how this currently looks like on our web page. So when we come over here, let's open up Q02D finished, and this is what we see right now. So requirement change number one is let's go and understand our HTML code also. So let's scroll down over here. We have the body, we have an image of scissors. It has an ID called scissors as well. You can see it's talking about this particular scissor. Then we have a div area, a div tag is being opened, and this div tag has an ID called coupon. And inside this area, you first have a heading that says meal coupon. Let's go and have a look at it. They're talking about this. Then it has a paragraph says coupon number, and this paragraph has an ID that says coupon number. And then there are two more paragraphs appearing below this, which is these two paragraphs. Okay, so the code currently is understandable. Now let's move on to our CSS styling. At the top, it's talking about the scissors. It's using an ID selector to refer to the scissor. Okay, so here and right now the scissor is having scissor image is having a width of 50 pixel. And what do they want us to do? They want us to, the examiner told us, rotate it 90 degrees. So what do we do here? We can use the property called transform. I want to transform this and I want to rotate it. How many degrees? I want to rotate it 90 degrees. So let's go and see if this works. Let me refresh it. Let's go to our web browser. Right now the scissor is this way. If I rotate it 90 degrees, it needs to turn to the right. So when I refresh my code, it perfectly turned to the right. Okay, which means it's working so far. The next requirement is, it says there should be a dashed border. So my coupon area, my coupon div box should have a dashed border. So when you come over here, you can see this is the beginning of your coupon designing. It has text alignment of center. I'm going to add one more, which is border style. I want the border style to be dashed. Okay, I want it to be a dashed border style. Let's save it. Let's go and refresh our code. And you can see over here, it is having a dashed border. So far, so good. Your next requirement is font size of 50 pixel for the text meal coupon. So this particular text meal coupon, this H1 tag, should have a font size of 50 pixel. So let's come over here. You can see H1 is over here. Below this, I'm going to say font size. I want it to be 50 pixel. Now let me save it and refresh it. Perfect. This has become 50 pixel. The next requirement is, according to our question paper, an italicized coupon number. The coupon number should be italics. So let's come down over here. This particular text is what they're talking about. I'm going to come over here, coupon number. They're talking about this particular paragraph. So I'm going to use font style, and I'm going to say italic. Control S, come and refresh my code. And you can see this has also become italics. Okay, so everything that the examiner asked me to do, I have done. Okay, if I go to check the question paper, everything that was asked, there were 4 things that were asked, all 4 was done. I'm going to save my code and then I'm going to move on to question number 3. So Control S, and now we proceed all the way down to question number 3. So over here it says JavaScript provides interactivity for web pages. Regular expressions regex can be used to validate the user's input. This is an example of a regular expression, and over here they have been good enough, kind enough to tell you what this expression means. What does it define? So you see this /d over here, it means 4 digits need to be entered first. Then you need to have 2 uppercase characters from A to D. 2 uppercase characters from A to D, that is A, B, C, D. Then 1 or more R character. Okay, they have explained that over here. Then A to Z, one lowercase character from A to Z. Then the character F OG. So when you have such a validation requirement, okay, this is how you would type it. Okay. Then the examiner goes on to say examples of valid input include. So these are examples of valid input that matches this validation. Okay. Examples of invalid input include these values. These values do not follow this validation check. Give one reason why the input, this particular input here, would fail validation using the regular expression. So why would this input fail this validation check? So if you see over here, it starts off with a uppercase character R, which is already there. Then it needs to have 2 digits. This defines digits. So there are 2 digits, 0 and 1 is there. Then it says there should be 3 characters in the range from A to R. So you have A, which is okay, B, which is okay. You have T. T is not in this range. T comes after R, PQR, ST. So T is outside this range. So we could talk about that. Okay, but let's keep looking. It then says HOM. After these 3 characters, it should be HOM, and H is there. And then it says there should be 1 or more uppercase characters from A to Z, which is not there. So there are 2 things that are missing that would cause it to fail this validation check. They have asked you only for 1, but since we are practicing, let's get down both. Okay. So I'm going to mention over here, you can say character number, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Character number 6 is not in the range of A to R. Okay. Character 6 is not in the range of lowercase a to R. Another reason that you can mention is the last characters should be what do you call, the last character should be 1 or more characters from A to Z. Okay, you can say the last characters, okay, should be uppercase characters should be 1 or more. The last character should be 1 or more uppercase characters from A to Z. That's also not there. Okay, right. Give one example of an input that would pass the validation using the regex. Okay, so this is the regex that they have given. The first character should be R, capital R. Let's do that. So we'll write something like that, capital R. Then we need to have 2 digits. So I'll say 1, 2. Then we need to have 3 characters in the range of A to R in lowercase. So I'll just say A, B, C. Then we need to have HOM in lowercase. I'll take M. Then we need to have 1 or more uppercase characters. So I'll say capital A, capital B. So this particular value would pass this regex. Okay, I hope it makes sense to you. Right. Let's keep moving down over here. It says, write a regular expression, a regex, that will validate user input. It must ensure that the input, and they are given you certain characters that you need to check for. So first, it should begin with 3 uppercase characters. It should begin with 3 uppercase characters. So open square brackets, A to Z in uppercase, and then open curly braces, or we say parentheses. How many do we want? We want 3. Then it is followed by 2 digits. So we put this slash and say D. Let me quickly confirm, is this the slash? Yes, this is the slash, and we need 2 of them. Open parenthesis, and we say 2. Then we need 1 or more lowercase characters, 1 or more. So open square brackets, A to Z, 1 or more. So I'm going to say plus, 1 or more means plus. And is then followed by the digit 409. So we open round brackets, and we say 4 separator 9, which means 409. Okay, right. We then move on to question 3C. It says open 3c.html in your editor, and I'm going to save it as Q03C finished.html. So I'm going to go into my folder, which is over here. And I will be opening Q03C, which is over here. I'll do a drag and drop into Sublime Text. Q03C, drag and drop. And I'm immediately going to save it as file save as Q03C finished. and .html will be appearing from, Sublime Text will do that for me. And I click on save, and I'm going to open this also in my web browser. So let's go and open up Q03C finished in my web browser. Let me just zoom in. Okay, so I have a better view. Right. What's required from me? The code must allow the user to input 2 numbers and then click on the submit button. When submit is clicked, the numbers should be compared. Display the message, the numbers are the same if the numbers are the same, and display a message such as 3 is higher than 2 if the numbers are different. Pretty straightforward. The code contains an incomplete JavaScript function. You need to amend your JavaScript function so that it compares the numbers and displays a relevant message. So let's go through our HTML code first and try to understand that area. So when I scroll down over here, I have my HTML code, I have my body, I have a form that's being created. The form has an ID. Then I have a paragraph with a label that says input first number. They're talking about this particular label. Okay. And then we have an input box. Okay. They're talking about this particular input box. It's accepting only numbers, as you can see. Okay. And this input box has an ID called input num. Then we have another label. There is something wrong over here. We'll deal with it. Okay, and it has a label that says input second number. They're talking about this particular area. Okay, then there is an input box. It has an ID called input num2. They're talking about this particular area. Then they are having a paragraph. This paragraph is blank. It has an ID that says output message. Okay, and then they have a button. Okay, the button is a submit button, and they're talking about this particular button over here. And when this button is clicked, the check numbers function is going to run. Before we have a look, so check numbers, how it works will be defined over here. What I want you to understand is over here, an equal symbol is missing. You can see over here, label for equal num1. That equal is missing over here, which is why you have a red warning over here. Let me put the equal. Okay, now that is also sorted for you. Right. If you scroll up here, the check numbers function has been created. We have a variable called num1, and num1 is equal to document.getElementById. It's referring to the input num1 field. Input num1 field is this particular input field. It's equal to this particular input field's value. So the value that is input in this input field will, once the check numbers button is clicked, once the submit button is clicked, check numbers function would run, right? So when this runs, it would take the value that was input into this field, meaning this particular field, the value that is inserted into this field would be taken and assigned to the variable num1. The same would also happen with the input num2 field. When the user enters a value into that and clicks on the submit button, that value will be taken and be equivalent to the variable num2. Then we have another variable called message, and right now message is equal to nothing. Now you're supposed to run your if condition, and you're supposed to run the comparison, and at the end of this comparison, what is the output? Variable message will be equal to the numbers are the same. So when will the numbers be the same? When num1 and num2 are the same, isn't it? So over here, we're going to remove this code, and instead we're going to type if num1 is equal to num2, then variable message will be equal to the numbers are the same. Then we're going to see else if, and you're supposed to type the code. What is the output? Message will be equal to variable num1 is higher than variable num2. So when would this happen? This would happen when num1 is greater than num2. So I'm going to type over here, when num1 is greater than num2, then message would be equal to this. Else, what do we do? So what else is remaining? The remaining part is that num2 is higher than num1. So what I would very simply do is I would just copy this message and I would come and paste it over here. And I would say over here, num2 is higher than num1. That's the only remaining option. Then it says over here, add your code to display the message. So after all these if statements are over, now finally output your message. Now we have a small problem over here. I did notice that we had a blank paragraph over here. So I'm going to try and put the message inside this particular paragraph. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to remove this code and I'm going to say access my paragraph, which is document.getElementById. And the ID of my paragraph is output message. So I'm going to say output message dot inner HTML is equal to the variable message. Whatever message contains should be shown in this paragraph. Now let me save my code and go and refresh it, and let's try it. I'm going to refresh my code. I'm going to put a high value 25. I'm going to put a low value here 20. And when I say submit, you see the value comes in the paragraph and it goes off. It doesn't remain there. Reason it doesn't remain is because it works as long as this function is running. When this function stops, it's no longer working. So we have a small problem when we put it inside this paragraph, because this will work as long as this function is active. The moment the function stops working, this will stop working. So what I'm going to do is, instead of putting it inside this paragraph, I'm going to display it as an alert, because an alert will display until the user clicks on the OK button. So what I'm going to do is, instead of putting it inside this paragraph, okay, because when I saw this empty paragraph over here, I thought the examiner wants me to put the value there. But then I realized if I put the value inside this paragraph, it doesn't remain there. It just displays for a second and then goes off. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to instead remove this and say, give it to me as an alert. So I'm going to say alert. And what is the alert I want? I want message, variable message to be shown. So let's click on save. And now let's try it. This time I'm going to give 23, 15. And when I say submit, you can see now an alert appears saying 23 is higher than 15. And this will remain until I click on OK. Once I click on OK, it goes away. So that's sufficient time for the user to understand the output. We'll just try one more. We'll put similar values, 20 and 20. And when you say submit, it says the numbers are the same. So this question is working quite well. I hope it makes sense to you. I hope you understood it. Okay, we are then going to move on to the next question. Okay. So we then move on to question 3C is done. And now we're going to move on to question 3D. So over here, it says open Q03D in your editor, and I'm going to save it as question 3D finished. So where is my folder? My folder is over here. So I'm going to open up Q03D in Sublime Text. Let's do a drag and drop, Q03D. And I'm going to save this as file save as Q03D finished. Okay, .html will be added by Sublime Text, and I click on save. Right, then let me also go and open that in my web browser. Q03D, I'm opening it up in my web browser, and this is what I see on my screen. Right, let's understand the question now. It says the code must allow the user to input a last name and a first name. Click the add button to add the last name and the first name to the array. Click the display button to display the contents of the array of names. The code is incomplete. Amend the code. Okay, change your code, modify your code to call the add name function when the add button is clicked. So when the add button is clicked, the add name function should be called. Add the last name and first name to your array, and then display the names in the array. So I'm going to go down to my code now. Let me first understand the HTML side of it. So you have your body over here, you have your form, you have your paragraph, last name, it's referring to this particular label. Then you have your input box. Your input box has an ID called last name. They're talking about this particular area. Then you have another paragraph which says first name. They're talking about this area. Then they're talking about an input box which has an ID called first name. They're talking about this particular input box. Then they are saying amend the code to call the add name function. So this is your coding for your button. Which button? Your add button. This particular button. Okay. The button has an ID that says btn add. It has a value, but on click, we need to connect it to a function. What's the function we need to connect it to? We need to connect it to the add name function, add name. So I'm going to say over here, add name function. So you have to put open brackets, close brackets, because it's the name of a function, add name. Then you have your second button, which is your display button, and it has already been connected to a function called display names. They are talking about this particular button. Okay. Now let's move up to see our JavaScript code. Over here, what do we see? So we see we have an array, and it's called name array. And if you notice that this array is a 2D array, it's not a 1D array, it's a 2D array. You have rows and you have columns. So you can see the first row has these details. The second row has these details. Now, careful. The first row in an array has an index number of 0. The second row has an index number of 1 because the numbering starts at 0. Okay. Now, if I were to ask you, what is the length of this array? When we count the number of values inside the array, when we count the number of rows, we start from number 1. So the length of name array is 2 because there are 2 rows here. But in terms of index numbers, in terms of position, what is the index number of the first row? You would say index number 0. Second row is index number 1. Okay, now those are rows. Then we also have columns. So the last name is in column index number 0 and the first name is in column index number 1. So you could also go on to say this, that all the last names are in column index number 0 and all the first names are in column index number 1. I hope you did notice that. Right. Then inside the addName function, variable last name is equal to document.getElementById by ID, last name's value. What does this mean? The value entered in this particular field, will be equal to the variable last name. Now they are asking you to add your code to store the first name value. So I'll follow the same formatting that was done over here. So variable fname, you can say var fname or you can just say fname. Fname is equal to document.getElementById by ID. What is the ID of my first name field? The ID of my first name field is also first name. Simple F, capital N. So I'm going to say over here, first name dot value. Okay. So the value entered in the first name field will be equal to the variable fname. So I can remove this code over here. Let's remove it. And then add your code to add the last name and first name to the array. So once these two values have been received, they need to be added to the array. So what I can do over here is I can access the array, which is name array. And then I can use a function called push. Dot push. Push means add values to this array. It's a function, dot push. So inside the brackets, you will mention the variables that contain the values that you want to push into your array. So open square brackets, because values in an array are referred to inside square brackets. First push the last name, first push lname variable, then push the fname variable. Are we okay with this? First push the lname variable, then push the fname variable. So what will happen is whatever I entered in lname will come over here. Whatever I entered in fname will then come over here. Okay, so once I add a value, there would be 3 rows. Okay, but the index number of my latest row will be number 2 because this will be 0, this will be 1, and my one that I just added will be 2. I hope it makes sense to you all. So I can remove this code as well. Let's remove this. Delete it. Then we move on to the next part where it says over here. Now I just want to make sure that this is working. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to add an alert to see if it got added. So I'm going to say alert, and I want to print the last row in my array. So I'm going to call name array, the name array, and I want the last row. So the row number is going to be row number 2, right? Once you add a value, you're going to the value is going to be added in the second row. No, it will be in the third row, but the index number is 2, isn't it? So I'm saying once the value is added, I want an array. Go to name array and give me row index number 2. Let's see if it works. So Control S, let's add. I'm going to add a value here. And I'm going to say add, and it seems to be working. It's printing the last value in my array. It's working. Right. So now I need to work on the display names function. Now, how does that work? The display names function needs to go into my array and one by one print the last names and first name. So what I'm going to do is right now the examiner has given me a variable called name array length, which is equal to name array dot length. So the variable name array length is equal to the length of this name array. Right now this name array has a length of 2. There are only 2 rows here. Okay. Then we are opening up a for loop. Why are we opening up a loop? So that we can go through every single value in that array. Okay, so that we can go through every single element in that array, and then examiner wants us to print it as well. So count is equal to 0 as long as the count is less than the name array length. As long as the count is less than name array length, okay, And then inside we have defined what to do. And after every single loop, count has to be increased by 1. We'll deal with this. So what am I going to do over here? I'm going to remove this code. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a variable called all names. I'm going to have a variable called all names. And all names variable is going to keep collecting values and storing them. And then after this whole for loop is over, it will then print these names. So what I'm going to do is all names is equal to whatever all names is equal to right now. Okay, I'm going to keep adding values to it now. So all names is equal to all names, and then concatenate it with, okay, which one? We go into the name array. We go into name array. I want to first take the last name. The last name, now I need to first define the row number. Now. In a 2D array, you first define the row number, then you define the column number. So the row number will be defined by the variable count. If it doesn't make sense, just bear with me. At the end of this, I'll run it for you and show you what it means. The row number will be defined by the variable count. The column number of last name is always in column number 0, isn't it? The last names are always in column 0. So I'll say take the last name from column 0. Then I want to concatenate that with the name array. Now I need the first name now. So again, go into name array. Go into name array. The row number is given to you by variable count. Variable count gives you the row number. And the column number for first name is always in column 1. Take it from column 1. So I put 1 over there. Now let's do a trial run. We also made a small problem over here. Over here we are saying all names is equal to all names. Okay, plus these values. Now you need to define what is the starting point of all names. At the beginning, how much is all names equal to? You need to create that variable. You're saying all names is equal to all names and add with these values. Your computer is going to tell you, well, how much is all names equal to at the beginning? Tell us at the beginning how much it is. So outside this for loop, I'm going to say that at the beginning, before this for loop runs, all names is equal to nothing. At the beginning, there's nothing inside it. Okay. Now, what's going to happen over here? Let's take a small trial run. Count is equal to 0. Is 0 smaller than the name array length? Of course it is. The name array length right now is equal to 2. No, there are 2 rows here. So it is true. When it is true, what happens? The cursor will go inside. So right now, all names is equal to all names. Right now, all names is nothing. Nothing plus name array. Count is how much? 0. So it will go to the name array, row 0. Row 0 is this very first row. And it will go to column 0. So row 0, column 0, who is it? Sanderson. It will take Sanderson and concatenate it, join it with name array. This is 0. It will go to row number 0. It will go to column number 1. Column number 1 is who? Ellie. Okay, so Sanderson, Ellie will now be together there. Okay, now it has come to the end now. Remember, this is a loop. So it will go up again. If there is nothing here, it will go up again. When it goes up again, what will happen? Count will increase by 1. Count was 0. Now count becomes 1. Count is equal to 1. Is 1 smaller than the name array length? Answer is true. It is smaller. Array length is 2 now. It's 1. It is true. Where will the cursor go? Cursor goes inside. All names is equal to all names. Right now, what was all names? Sanderson, Ellie, right? That's what it was equal to. So now what will it do? Sanderson, Ellie will now concatenate with name array. Count is now 1. Row number 1 is what? This particular row. Row number 1, column number 0. Column 0 is who? Spencer. So now Spencer is taken and concatenated with name array. Count is, remember 1. It will go to row number 1, column number 1. Row number 1, column number 1 is who? Mark. So now Mark also gets added there. So now what do we have? Sanderson, Ellie, Spencer, Mark. We have all 4 of these values. Inside the variable, all names. Now it comes to the end of this, it will try to come down, but at the bottom there is nothing. So it will go up again. It's a for loop now. When it goes up, the count will increase by 1. So the count was 1, now it becomes 2. Is 2 smaller than the name array length? The name array length is also 2. Is 2 smaller than 2? Answer is no. When the answer is no, the cursor will not go inside. The cursor will jump out. So when it jumps out, it means the for loop has come to an end. When it comes to an end, I want to show these values on my screen. So I'll use an alert. Okay, because there is no blank paragraph here for me to put it inside. So I'll say at the end of this for loop, alert the names for me. Who has the names? Variable, all names. Okay, so shall we see if this is working? Let's see if this is working. I'm going to add my name here. I'm going to say add. Okay, I forgot to remove that earlier alert. Now I'm going to say display. So now can you see it's displaying all the names. We do have a tiny problem. Examiner didn't ask you to do it. I'm going to keep spaces between every single name. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say concatenate this with, after taking all names, after the first name, after the last name, keep a space. Okay, keep a space and then concatenate it. And then after this also keep a space. Okay, then it becomes a little easier to read the names. Now I'm going to remove this alert. Examiner never told me to keep this alert. I put it there just to check if my code is working. Control S. Let's come and refresh our code. Again, I'm going to add my name. Add it, display it, and it's working perfectly well. Okay, I hope this code makes sense to you. I hope you do understand what's happening over here. Okay, do try it on your own. Don't just observe only. You must try it on your own. And with that, we have also come to the end of question 3D. This is also done. Okay, we have done this. All three of these have been done. Okay, right. So then let's move on to question E. It says explain one difference between the key press event and the key up event. So key press occurs when the user presses a particular key, and key up event will run when the user takes his finger off the key. Okay, so you can say the key press event occurs when the user presses a particular key, while the key up event would take place when the user releases a particular key on the keyboard. Okay, pretty straightforward. The name itself tells you key press, key up. Okay, I hope this also makes sense to you. We will then be moving on to question 4. Okay, so we are done with question 3 and we are now going to move on to question number 4. So question 4 is section B. Okay, about 2 hours you're advised to spend on this section. Okay, so over here we have a major HTML question over here. So let's get moving over here. Let's come and have a look over here at this particular question over here. Right. So question 4, everyone for sport needs a web page. A wireframe and style guide have been provided. So this is your wireframe, and below you can see your style guide has been given to you. Okay, so what does it go on to say? Figure 5 shows the 5. Okay, there's also a mock-up given to you in PDF format. It can be found in your assets folder. Shall we go and have a look at that? So I'm going to come over here, question 4, and over here in my assets folder, I have a mock-up that gives me that lets me see how the web page would look. Okay, the colors, the content positioning, and things like that. Okay, right, it looks pretty okay for me. Right, let's keep moving. So when we come down over here, you can see they have given you the width and the heights and where the content should be placed. All that information has been given over here to you, right? Okay, so let's get moving. So overall page requirements, your style guide requirements, we'll go through each of them one by one. Okay, so I'm going to move down over here. It keeps going on. Right, I'm first going to save these 2 files. I'm first going to do this saving and then I'm going to get started. So I'm going to open up Q04. Sorry, where is Q04? Oh, sorry, I need to create a web page. I need to create these 2 web pages. So let me first create these 2. Let me go into Sublime Text. I need a new file and I'm going to save this as in my folder Q04 as Q04 finished.html. Now you need to put .html because Sublime Text has still not recognized the file that you're using. So I put .html and then I will also be taking another file for my CSS. So file save Q04 finished.css save. And then what I'll do over here is I'm going to close everything else that I don't need. So I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need this, don't need. This also I don't need. I need these 2. Okay, so I'm going to drag CSS out. So now I have 2 separate windows. I'm going to keep CSS on the right, HTML on the left. So Windows right, keep this on the left, and HTML can be a lot bigger than my CSS coding. So I take that over there. Okay. And let's get started. Okay. So let me go through my requirements again. So over here, I need to use HTML5 elements to define different parts of the web page. I need to use a Verdana font style. So let's get moving. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first get the opening HTML tags. So I'll come over here and say HTML, and I have my opening HTML tags. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have my HTML5 elements for various parts of my web page. The header area, then you have your content area, and then you have your footer area. So let me get those three down now itself. So I have my header, open, close. Then I have my content, open, close. And then I have my footer, open, close. So I have those three elements. That particular part is done for me. So I can put a tick over here saying that this I have done. Okay. I need to use an external style sheet. Let me get started with that. So I'm going to link my Q04 finish CSS file to my HTML file. How do we do that? Inside your head tag, you need to use the link tag and ensure you get the correct spellings. Okay. So I'm going to say Q04 finished.css. A quick reminder, your CSS file and your HTML file both need to be the same folder in order for them to work. Otherwise, you need to mention the entire path of your CSS file. I think I have done that. Okay. And just in order for me to confirm that this is working, I'm going to apply a red color background for my web page. So if my web page's background color changes, then I know my CSS file is linked to my HTML file. So what I'll do over here is I'll just come here and type body. And I'll say over here body, the background color, I want it to be red. Okay, so Control S. Let's make this slightly bigger. Okay, and now let me go and refresh my web. Let's open up my web page, Q04 finished. So yeah, it's red color, which means the CSS file is linked successfully, linked properly with my HTML web page. There doesn't seem to be a problem with that. Okay, so that's also done. Okay, now I don't need a background color of red, but I just did that to see if my code, if my CSS file has been linked to my HTML file. So I can also put a done over here. This is also done. The entire web page needs to have a Verdana font style. I'll do that now itself. So I'll come to body. Let me just take this a little bit down so that I can see it. I'll change this to font family. Font family, it has to be Verdana. Okay, so that is also done. Let me come and put a tick over here. So paddings and margins I'll be doing as we go along. So now I'm going to start with my header area. Okay, so I'm going to open up a div box for my header area. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say inside the header area, I want to open up a div box. And the ID of this area, I'm going to call it header area. Header area. Okay. And inside this header area, I'm going to be having a lot of content. The logo is going to be there. Some text is going to be there. So let me deal with all of them one by one. So now let me start styling the header area. How am I going to style it? It needs to have the following background color. Let me do that. I'll come over here and I'll say what? Hashtag header area, because I'm referring to the ID of this div area, header area. And first of all, its position, I'm going to keep it at relative. Why am I making it relative? Because inside this text box, inside this div box, I might have other div boxes as well. And I will only be able to move those div boxes which I put inside it if the main div box, which is header area, has a position of relative. Okay, so I say relative over here. In terms of its width, this wireframe very clearly tells me the width is 900 pixels. So I'm going to have a 900 pixel width, 900 pixel width. And what else do I know about it? Its height, I don't know right now. I'll change it as we go along. I do know it has a background color. This is the background color. So let me first put the property background color. It's hashtag 5 F9EA0. F9EA0. This is the background color. That's also done. What else do I know about it? So I'm going to put a tick over here. I need to insert a logo. So shall I get started with the logo right now? I'm going to get started with this logo. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say image tag, img, src is equal to logo.jpg. Logo is inside my assets folder. If you look carefully, inside next to my web page, inside the assets folder, I do have my logo, logo.jpg. So I'm going to insert that. So what is the address? It is assets/logo.jpg. Okay. Now let me go and see if this is actually working. So Control S. Let me also save my CSS code. You'll also save CSS. Control S. Come and refresh your web page. And you see the logo has appeared. This is your header area with this particular background color. Looks good so far. The logo needs to be resized. Let's see what's the size. They say the logo should be, its width should be 80 pixels only here. So I'm going to come over here. You can either do it over here or you can do it in CSS. I'll do all my styling in CSS. So I'll give it an ID that says logo. And I'll come over here and I'll say my logo has a width of 80 pixel. Control S. Let me come and refresh this. I forgot to save my HTML. Control S, Control S. And now you can see your logo has been perfectly resized. Do remember that they did tell you to have margins and paddings. Okay. So for my header area, I'll have a margin of 5 pixel. So margin means the gap between the border and the content outside it. Padding means the gap between the border and the content inside. So I'll have a small margin of 5 pixel and I'll have a padding of 10 pixel. Let me see how this looks. Let's come and refresh. That looks a lot better. You can see this is the 5 pixel margin and this is your 10 pixel padding. Okay. Right. Let's keep moving. Next, what do we have? We have this text that says everyone for sport. So I'm going to insert this text inside a separate div box so that I can move it. Okay. So let me come and first mark what I have done. This is done. This is done. And now I'm working on this area. So inside my main text box, which is header area or my div box, I'm going to open up another div box and I'm going to give it an ID that says header text 1. Give it meaningful name so you can identify it easily. And what is this text going to say? It's going to say everyone for sport. Everyone for sport. Save it. Now I'm going to come into my CSS side and I'm going to start giving it styling properties. So header text 1 is definitely going to have a position of absolute. Why absolute? Because it's already inside the relative box. So when it has a position of absolute, I can then move it wherever I want inside the main header area div box. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay. So position, and I'm going to say absolute. So I can now move it. Okay. How much do I want to move it? You can see it is very much on the right, isn't it? So I'm going to say take it all the way to the right and keep only a gap of 10 pixel from the right. Why 10 pixel? That's the padding. Okay. So I'm going to take it all the way to the right and say on the right hand side, I just want only a 10 pixel gap. So this text box should go all the way to the right with only a 10 pixel gap from the right kept. Okay. So let's save this. Let's save this. Let's go and see how it looks. When you refresh, it has appeared over here. I need it to move to the top as well. So I'm going to take it all the way to the top and keep only a 10 pixel gap from the top. Let's do that as well. Top 10 pixel gap. Control S, come and see how it looks. It looks pretty neat, isn't it? Then what do we need next? If you want to increase it even more, you can. Maybe we can make it 20. Sorry. We could make it 20 maybe. Control S. Okay, looks okay. Then what do we need next? According to our question paper, we have inserted the text. The font size needs to be 35. So I'm going to come here Inside header text 1, I'm going to say the font size needs to become 35 pixel. What else do we need? The font color needs to be, so I'm going to come here and say color, hashtag, it needs to be 483 D8B. Next, what does it say? It needs to be italic and emboldened. Okay, so italic, we get it from font style italic, and I need to embolden it. So you can say font weight. I want to bold it. Okay, and what else? It needs to be right aligned. It is already right aligned. If you want, you can just say text align right. That's also done. Control S. Let's go and see if they all work properly here. So when you come and refresh, it's working properly, exactly everything that they asked for. So you can just look at the mockup and see, does it match it? Okay, so it matches everything that the mockup asked for. Let's go ahead and start putting ticks next to the parts that we have done. So this was done, all done. Okay, right. Right, let's keep moving. So next, what do we have? So next we move on to the Everyone for Sport July competition. We are talking about this particular text. So I'm going to have another text box for this area. So I'm going to come over here and open up another text box, div tag, open, close. ID is going to be called header text 2. And inside this, what do we say? We say over here, Everyone for Sport July competition. Everyone for Sport July competition. Okay, right. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start designing it. Hashtag header text 2. And first, the position is going to be absolute, obviously. Okay, because I want to move it inside this text box. I want it to be right in the center. Okay. So what you can do is you can say from the left, keep a gap of 50%, or you can say from the right, keep a gap of 50%. You can choose it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm first going to center align this text inside this particular text box itself. Center. And then what I'm going to do is this text box is going to have a 50% gap from the left hand side of the header area text box. Okay, so I'm going to say from the left, keep a gap of 50%, or you can say from the right, keep a gap of 50%. Shall we see how this looks? Let's save HTML, save CSS, come and refresh. It looks okay, but it doesn't look properly balanced out. It looks like it has come too much onto this side. So I'll deal with it. What I can do over here is, instead of saying 50%, maybe I'll say from the left. This is a 900 pixel text box, right? So instead of 9, so what I'll do is instead of giving it in percentage, let me give it in pixels. So maybe I'll say 450 pixel from the left. Let's see how this looks. 450 doesn't look too good. Let's reduce it to 350. 350 looks somewhat in the middle, maybe 300. Make it 320. Actually, I should increase the font size and all and then do this. Okay, let's first do that. For now, I'll just keep it at left 320 pixel. Next, what do I have according to this question paper? I have inserted the text. I need to make its font size 40. So I'll come over here and I'll say font size 40 pixel. Next, what do I need? The font color should be 483D8B. Okay, so color hashtag 483D8B. That's also done. Center align is also done. Right, let me come over here and see how it looks. Control S, Control S. Let's come and refresh our text. So let's go back to 50% and see how it looks. But let's go back into 300 pixels and see how it looks. Not looking good. Let me just try 50% once more and see how it looks. No, not looking good. Okay, so let's go back to maybe 200 pixel. 100 pixels from the left. 110 would make it perfect. Yeah, 110 looks good. If you want, you can make it 115 maybe. Okay, well, let's keep it at 110. Okay, also you can notice that this height needs to increase. The height of the main header area needs to increase. So I'm going to come to header area and its height, I don't know how much. I'll say, for example, maybe 400 pixels for now. Let's see how much is 400 pixels. 400 for now. We'll just keep it at 400, and if it's too much, we can always reduce it. Okay, so this is done. We then come over here and start marking what we have done. 40 pixels increased. Okay. Right. Next, what do we have? Something for everyone. So I'm going to open up another text box over here. Over here, I'm going to open up another text div, and I'm going to call it ID header text 3. And inside this, what do we have? We have the text that says something for everyone. Something for everyone. Control S. And I'm going to start giving it its properties. So I'll just copy and paste this and then start adjusting it accordingly. So position will remain. Text align is its center. They have set text align center, which we have done. We have done. Font size should be 25. Font size 25 pixel. And the color should be again the same color. So this is also done then. Also done. Let's see if it works. I'm gonna save this, save this. Let's come and refresh our code. We need to take this a little more down, isn't it? We need to bring this a little more down. Okay. But I forgot to change this to header text 3. My bad. Header text 3. Okay, so we need to bring this something for everyone. We need to bring it further down. So how much? I don't know. Let's try and see. So I'll say from the top, increase it by 100 pixels. Let's see. So 100 pixels not enough. Let's make it 200. 200 is way too much. 150. 150 seems good. It needs to come somewhere to the center. So from the left, let's make this 200 pixel. Not enough. 300 pixel. 300 pixel looks pretty good. Okay. So that is also done. Okay. We then have what's remaining. We then have the hyperlink, which is, it says what? Jump to times. So I'm going to open up another text box for that as well. Okay. Shall we increase the top space a little more? Maybe 170. Okay. Okay, so we're going to have another text box here. I'm going to open up header text 3, div, and I'm going to say ID equal header text 4. And inside it, we're going to have a hyperlink, anchor tag, open, close, and what's the text inside it? It's going to say jump 2 times. So I'm going to say over there, jump 2 times. Okay, and what's the address of this? I don't know. What is the address of this particular link? So we have inserted it. It should connect to the times.html web page. So in your folder, times.html is right here. So you can just type times.html. Okay, so over here, I'm going to say times.html. Okay, so Control S. And now let's see how it looks. Control S, Control S. Let's come and refresh our web page. And you can see it has appeared over here. Now you will have to start styling it and bringing it further down. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to copy this whole thing. Control C, Control V. Position will be the same. Text align, not really center. I'm just going to remove text align. They haven't told me. From the left, I don't really need a gap. Maybe just a 10 pixel gap. Okay. From the top, I don't know. Maybe we'll have to make it about 250 pixel. Okay. Let's see. I forgot to change the name. Header text 4. Header text 4. Control S. Okay, so jump to times. Maybe 250 is a bit too much. Maybe 200 would do good. But if you look at your mock-up, there's quite a gap, right? Not much of a gap, so that's okay. I need to adjust the font size. The font size is how much? It should be only 12 pixels. So this is done. This is done. This needs to be only 12 pixels. So I'm going to come over here, font size 12 pixels. Control S. Let's come and refresh our web page. And that's perfect. So now I'm done with my header area. I'm done with my header area, and this area's height seems to be way too much. So I'm going to have to reduce it. Okay, so I'm going to have one more look. Is there anything else in the header? No, that's the end of the header. Okay, and I'm going to have to move from here. So I'm going to say over here, I'm going to say over here, the header area height, let's bring it down to 300 pixels. Let's see how it looks. No, I think 200 should do. Yeah, 210 maybe. 210 would be more than enough. Yeah, 210 is more than enough. So we are now done with the header area. We then move on to our next area, which would be your content area. So I'm going to first open up a main div box to take care of this entire area. And then inside that, I'll have two div boxes to take care of these. Okay. So let's have a main text box over here. Okay. And okay, to take care of these two. So I'm going to open up my first div box inside my content area. So my header is done now. I'm now moving into my content. So I open up my div box over here. The ID, I'm going to call it content area. And now I'm going to start formatting it. I'm going to start giving it CSS properties. Let me just go and copy the header area. Control C. Come all the way down over here. Now my header area, it will be relative. Position will be relative. Let me change this to content area. Content area, it's going to be relative. Its width will be the same. However, its background color is going to become, they have mentioned it over here, to D8 BF D8. Okay, so D8 F BF D8. BF D8. That's the background color. The margin, I'll keep it at 5 pixel. The padding, I'll keep it at 10 pixel. The height, I don't know. For now, I'll keep it as it is. Okay, let's see how it looks. So let's save both. CSS saved. And now let's come and refresh. So here you go. You have your content area. I just noticed when we mention margin, the margin applies on all 4 areas. So I'm going to make a small change. I don't want a margin on all 4 areas. I want a margin only on the left. Okay, otherwise this gap is appearing because it's being applied on all 4 areas. And if you look at your markup, that gap is not there. If you look at the markup, can you see there is no gap? So what I'm going to do is, instead of saying margin, I'm going to say only left margin. Only on the left side, I want a margin. The same with my header area also. We only want a left margin. Now let's see how this affects my code, how this affects my output. So you can see now only the left hand side is having a margin. The top, bottom, right doesn't get affected. All right. So inside this, we're going to start putting content now. So let's start marking what we have done. This particular area is done. And now I'm going to have 2 columns. Let's get started with the very first column. I'm going to call it content area. Let's open up a div box. And I'm going to call this my column 1. Column 1. Column 1. And let's have a look and see how we are going to work with this. Okay, so I'm going to have some text inside it, an image inside it, some text inside it. Okay, so right, let's get started one by one. So I need to have two columns. This is my column 1, and this is going to be my column 2. Okay, I'll put the properties for them when we come to them. For now, I'm going to put the properties for column 1. Hashtag column 1. So its position is definitely, its going to be absolute because it's inside a relative box. Okay. And its width is going to be how much? How much would its width be? If this is 900 pixel, 10 pixels goes for padding. So 10 on this side, 10 on this side, that reduces it to 880. So from 880, if I take another 10 pixel gap over here, that comes down to 870. So maybe 435 and 435. Okay. So I'll set this to 435. Column 1 width, I want it to be 435 pixel. There you go. And from the left, I want it to have a 10 pixel gap. That's for the padding. Okay. Let me see how it looks. Give me a second. The background color is going to be D8D8BF. So background color, hashtag D8D8BF. Okay, that's also done. Okay, height, I don't know how much. We will deal with it. Then I need to insert the column headings, mini Olympics and last year's competition. Okay, and the font sizes are going to be 20 pixel and they're going to be center aligned. Okay. Column headings. Okay, so they need to be bold if you see. So shall I use the H1 tag and then adjust the font sizes? Okay, so mini Olympics, I'll say over here. Sorry, my bad. So over here, I'll open up an H1 tag and I'll say over here, close H1. It needs to say, this cannot be H1, maybe H3. Okay, the H1 is everyone for sports and all that now. So I'll say H3, and over here I'll say mini Olympics. Okay, mini Olympics. What else do I need to do? I then need to set the font size to 20 and I need to center align it. No worries. I'll come over here and I'll say H3 tag. I'm not using an ID, I'm using a tag, H3. Font size is going to be 20 pixel. And it's going to be center aligned. So text align is center. So Control S. Let's see how it looks. It looks pretty fine. Okay, so this looks fine. Let's keep moving. What do we need next? So I can put this part is done. Background colors are done. 2 columns have been inserted. Font size I'm working on. I have center aligned it. Now I need to insert the images as shown. So these images need to be shown. Okay. Running, changing to football.jpg. Sorry. So the running image, and then it should change to football when the user hovers over it. Okay, let's do it. So let's come to the column 1 area. Okay, so below Olympics, I'm going to insert the image tag, img tag. And over here, what do I say? Over here, I would say I need to go into the assets folder and access which image? Running.jpg. Control S, have they given us any sizes for the image? They have said the image should be 410 pixel. So I'm going to come to my CSS code and I'm going to refer to this. I'm going to give this image an ID. I'm going to say equal, what shall we say? C1 images, or we'll just say C images, which means the column images, because both columns have images. Is that so? Yeah, but these widths are different, isn't it? So I'll call it C1 images. That better. This is 410 and this is 205 now. let's make it C1 images, and I'll come over here and say hashtag C1 images should have a width of 410 pixels. That is also done. Anything else I need to do with the image? To 410, and then this needs to should have a proposition of absolute. Okay, I do not know exactly where to put it. I'll put it, and from the top I want to have a gap of, I don't know, we'll see how it looks right now, and then we'll decide. So let's come and refresh our web page, and the image, I forgot to put its size, images size, the image, what's the name of, I forgot to give an ID for this image, so I'll give it running, ID equal running. So the running image will have a width of 400, and what's the width of my column one? It's 410 pixels, so I'll put 410 pixel. Control S, let's come and refresh this. Okay, so now my image is perfectly fitting in this area. Then I'm going to have my column 2 area. I'm then just going to copy and paste this entire thing. I'm then going to have my column 1 area 2. Forgot to put the opening tag. Column 1 area 2. This will have not my running. This will have my football image. The ID will also become football. However, right now, let's put the same properties. And we will call this area 2. We will call this football. Control S. When we come and refresh, the image is appearing in the exact same position. Okay, both images are appearing in the exact same position. Okay, so it looks good. Now, what I want to do over here is, initially, I do not want this area to be visible. The football area should not be visible at the beginning. So what I would say over here is, or rather what I would do is, let me put the football image first. Let me put the football image first, so that then the running image will be visible and football will not be visible. So if you don't understand what I'm doing, the football area, I'm going to cut it and keep it before the running image, so that the running image, because it will display what comes last now, so the running image will be visible and the football image will not be visible. So Control S. Now when I come and refresh my code, the running image is visible, the football image is behind it, because your HTML will display what you typed last. Running was what we typed last now, so it's displaying my running image right now. Okay, and the football image is right behind it. Then I would say over here, when running hovers on hover of running image, okay, on hover of running, it should go away. Running on hover, its display should become none. It shouldn't be visible, so that then the football image would become visible. So Control S. Let's come and refresh this. When I place the cursor, there you go, perfectly changing. When I place the cursor, the running image display becomes none. So then the football image is what's behind it, so football would become visible. I hope that makes sense to all of you. Okay, do try it on your own. Okay, this is my code over here. Okay, right. Below these images, what do we have next? So over here, let's come over here and mark what we have done. So this was done. This was done. This was also done. Then in column 2, we have the karate image. We'll deal with that. For now, we need to insert this text. Mini Olympics1.txt has it. So let's go to our folder, Mini Olympics. Mini Olympics 1 has the text that we need. So Control A, Control C. I'm going to copy this and paste it. How does it have to look? Let me look at the mockup. Okay, something like this, and then we have a list here, no? So I'm going to open up another div box over here, div, and I'll give it an ID. ID is going to be equal to column 1 area 3, and this text I'm just going to copy and paste it. I'm not going to put it inside any tag. And let me see how it. So let me also talk about column 1, area 3. Position will be absolute, no doubt about that. Top bottom, I don't know how much for now. Let me go and see. Save HTML. So my text is appearing over here. I need to bring this a lot down. How much? I don't know. So let's say from the top, I want a gap of, let's say 100 pixel. 100 pixel, not enough. Let's make it about 300, 400 pixel. 400 seems to be too much. 250. Let's make it 300 itself. 300 is too much. Let's go for 300. 300 looks good. Also, if you look carefully, what have they told us about this text? They have told us that the font size of this text should be 16 and it should be justified. So let's come here. Font size should be 16 pixel and text align should be justified. That is also done. That is also done. Refresh it. Okay, perfect. This height needs to increase further. How much? I don't know. So I'm going to come to my column 1 and its height. I'm going to make it about 400 pixel. We'll see. Okay, 400 doesn't seem to be at all enough. Let's make it 800. Okay, so we have our text over here. And let me also apply some padding for column area 3. I'll put some padding of about 5 pixel maybe. Now it looks a little better. Or is it even more? 5 is good enough. Right, below this I need further text. So I can find that in Mini Olympics 2. So there's a list before it. I need to copy and paste that list. I will do that shortly. Let's arrange this. Go in. Go in. And then below this, I need to have an unordered list. You will open and you will close them. And inside this, I have a few list items. What are the list items? Athletics, karate, basketball. Athletics, karate, basketball, football, and many more. So let's see how it looks. This is what it, something. This is what it looks like. Okay, it looks exactly like one. So the height, now we have come to the end of this. The height can be reduced. These need to be in separate paragraphs, no? So let's separate them. Let's put break tags and separate them. So here we need to have a BR tag. Here we need to have a BR tag. And here also we need to have a BR tag. Let's see how it looks now. Looks like not enough. Let's add one more. BR, BR, BR. Control S. Looks much better. This height seems to be a little too much. Let's go and reduce the height of, so we don't need this top position. I can remove it. The column 1's height, we can maybe bring it to 600 pixels. Let's see. Sorry, 700. Yeah, 700 looks good. Right, so we then need to insert our next column. This is done. This is done. We then need to insert column number 2. So let me just quickly go and start marking what has been done. Okay, so this is also done. Hovering happens. Okay, karate we need to work on. Okay, the paragraph text has been inserted. There's no more paragraph. There's some more here, no? There's some more here. So let me see if I can undo that. Okay. Right, bulleted list has been done. Font size is 16 has been done. Okay. Right. Insert the final text. What is the final text? The final text is the text on this side. Okay. So yeah. So the text on this side is done. Font size, we justified it. Now we have to work only on the karate and this side. Okay, so let's move on to column number 2 then. Let's go on to column number 2. So over here, let's copy column 1's position properties. Let's copy columns 1's properties, and let's come down all the way here. So column 2 position will be absolute. Its width will remain the same, but from the left, how much of a gap we want to move away from the left? So it would be about 410 plus 10 over there, 420, another 10 onto this side. Okay, so about 430 pixels. We'll say 440. 440 pixels gap we need. Let's see how it looks. So it's appearing over here. I think we can take it furthermore. Let's make it 460. 480. Yeah, 480 looks good. Okay, we'll keep it at 480. Background color height, we'll keep it as it is. Right, so now inside this area, what do we have? The first thing that we do see over here is we need the heading last year's competition. So we will use the same H3 tag that we used over here, mini Olympics. Here we copy and paste it and say last year's competition. Last year's competition. Let's see how it looks. It has appeared without any problem. Then below this, what do we need? We then need this karate image to be inserted, which I'm going to do right now. So image src is assets folder / karate.jpg. Okay, and I'm going to give it an ID. ID is going to be called karate. And over here, I'm going to refer to it. I'm going to set its width. Karate's width is going to be how much? The question paper told us to set it to 205 pixels. 205 pixels. Okay, and let's come and refresh our code. So I forgot to save HTML, save CSS. Something went wrong somewhere. Okay, so the karate image has appeared. No problems. Okay. Now below this, I need to insert some text. Where do I get the text from? Okay, so I think it's in the final text, events.txt. Events.txt. Do we have a file called events.txt? Yeah, we do have events.txt. So we just Control A, Control C, copy this text, and we paste it over here. Okay, so that's done. This is done. What would be the font size for this text? Let's go and have a look. Examiner has told us that this text, the font size should be 20 and center aligned. Sorry, the final text. So this text should be size 16 and justified. Size 16 and justified. So text align should be justified, and font size should be 16 pixel. That's done. And Control S, Control S. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's see how the output looks. I think I did not save. Okay. Also, my text needs to be around this. So I'm going to say image float on the left. Send the image to float on the left. You can say Where is the image? You can say float onto the left. Okay, so yeah, now my text is going around it. My text is wrapping around it. That's perfect as well. That's done as well. Next, what needs to happen? We need to insert some. So this is done. Image is done. And we then have our, which area? We then have the final text. We look forward to welcoming you all again. Please join us. So I'm going to type that also. I'll put that inside a paragraph because there are some special effects to be done to it. So I'll open up a paragraph and say, we look forward to welcoming you all again. Please join us. So in the mockup, it appears in two separate lines. Okay, so I'm going to say column twos paragraph. Sorry, column twos paragraph. Its font size should be font size should be 20 and it should be center aligned. 20 pixel. Align center. It also needs to be bold, so font weight, bold it, Control S. Forgot to save HTML, save CSS. Now when I come and refresh it, it looks perfect. Okay. If you want to stick to the this thing, you can send you all again to the next line. BR. Okay, so now it looks exactly. Please join us. I'm going to send you to the next line. Yeah, okay. And then below this, what do we have? So this, we do have a bit of a problem in terms of the heights. This is taking up way more space than this. Have I missed something? So we need to increase, we need to have paragraphs, isn't it? The event kicked off needs to have the event kicked off. So before this, 2 BRs, BR. Then can we beat it this year? Again, BR. And the opening ceremony, again, BR. Okay, let's see how it looks now. Still the spacing is, it looks much better. Okay, so I'm going to reduce the height a little more. The height of column 2, make it maybe 600. And the height of column 1 also make it 600. Let's see how this looks. No, we'll keep it at 650. 650. No, 690. 690. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so the remaining part, so also this pink color height needs to be increased furthermore. We need to keep increasing this height. Okay, so let me also go and increase the content areas height. Content areas height, it's 200. Let me make it 610. Okay, 600 is not enough. Let's make it 800. 800 is a little too much. Maybe we make it 770. 770 seems to be okay, or 760. Also, the gap from the left, I'm going to increase it. The column one's gap from the left. Oh, I didn't have a gap from the left. Okay. If you want, you could. Column one's gap from the left, you could increase it to maybe 30 pixel. Up to you entirely. Right. So right. So now what's remaining is we have the footer remaining to be done, this particular area. So we're going to open up our footer area now. The content is done. We now move on to our footer area. I'm going to open a div tag over here, open div, close div. I'm going to have an ID that says footer area. And I'm going to copy the same properties from content area to footer area and paste it. I'm going to change this to footer area. And position will remain relative. The width will be the same. The background color, however, is going to change. So let me come over here and mark what I have done. This is done, done, done. So email your interest as shown. So I need to type the text, email your, it's going to be a hyperlink. So anchor tag open, anchor tag closed, email your interest. And when I click on this hyperlink, it should take me to, create an email link, everyoneforsport@bib.com. So when you create an email hyperlink, your href would be equal to mail to : everyoneforsport@bib.com. This is how you create an email hyperlink. That's also done. I'm going to come over here, the footer area, my font size should be how much? 16 pixels. So I make it 16. This height is not necessary. Okay. The background color should be 483D8B. 483D8B. Sorry, that's the font color. That's the font color. The background color should be 598E. Hashtag 5F9. Sorry, 5F9 EA0. That's also done. This is done. This is done. This is done. This is done. So let's save this and let's see how it looks. Let's come and refresh our web page. These are our footer area, and there you go. You have your hyperlink as well. Okay, going to take some time. To complete this question, but please do practice it on your own. Okay. I hope my explanation was meaningful. I did get a bit carried away this way, that way. Okay. So at the end, everything has been done. I have to go. I'll just go and save my files. Okay. Save Q04, and we save Q04 finish.csc. Okay. So we then move on to the next question, which is to do with JavaScript. Okay. So I'll be doing that in the next video where we have question 5 and question 6. Okay. It's a little more to go. I'll be doing that in the next video. Okay. I hope so far things are going great for you. Okay. See you in the next video.